everybody. Welcome again to the Space Academy special episode. And I'm very excited to share with you the first segment of a brand new section in our academy, and that is a guest speaker, a special guest. After going through several episodes, we will be bringing different guests from all over the world to give us their insights on the topics that were discussed. And I had this idea for a while, and here it is. And the first guest speaker, special guest on our program is AJ Roberts. AJ Roberts is a very interesting young man, but the further introduction he's going to do himself. Let's try to connect with AJ right now. Hello, AJ Roberts. Can you hear us?
I can hear you loud and clear. Hello to all the Space Academy cadets.
Hi, how are you? You are the first guest surprise speaker that I have on our program. So I'm very excited to have you here and share what you know.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure.
So the last time we talked about Cabal and the controllers, and I have been explaining in the class 8 about the system and the power structure and how it is all layered. So I would like to start with that. But before, can you just give us a few sentences of introduction, who you are exactly? Because I know why I invited you, but maybe you can explain to the viewers about yourself a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Hello, my name is AJ, and I spent 15 years in the British Army, and after that, very much focused on my podcast, where from 2020 onwards, where I basically was showing people around the world the falsehoods around the C-19 agenda. Obviously, that linked into many other things, which I was showing people all the intricacies and the small detail in different countries, what was happening. As the kind of years went on from 2020, that kind of elaborated more into deeper spiritual work, but from within myself, and then creating a deeper connection to my star family, galactic family. I surrounded myself with amazing mentors, some of who you know, and I've been on a pretty prolific journey ever since, and now run a lot of healing sessions and retreats here in my home, but also abroad in Portugal as well. As it's this kind of very much led me down a kind of galactic shamanic route, shall we call it. So yeah, that's a brief introduction about myself.
Great, thank you so much. 15 years in the army. What exactly did you do there?
So I was in the engineers, so predominantly we build bridges and we blow things up. We diffuse things, we clear routes, cross routes, like all that kind of stuff. Very much work on the front line with combat troops, and did so in Iraq and Afghanistan and Sierra Leone.
Amazing. Okay, I'm going to have some questions related to that and to our topic. But first, to explain to our viewers from your perspective and from your understanding of the subject, how do you understand the term Cabal?
Well, not so much as a term, but like a name given to a large entity. This entity has been somewhat the group that have, we could refer to as the controllers or the deep state, obviously the Cabal. There's many different names for them, and the Cabal to me is and always has been made up of fractions of particular bloodlines. Everybody who comes into their field and works within close proximity to them, or either of that bloodline or have some other use for that bloodline. And between all these large corporations and families, they've created systems within this matrix that we live in, that control our field of illusion and what's projected to us. And they all work together. So you've got the different bloodlines that have created the banking system. Then you have different bloodlines that created the pharmaceutical industry, who own the food industries, etc., etc. But all these systems all work together in unison in this matrix. And the Cabal run that from a back seat, basically. So you'll have the main people that many don't even know exist, and that's why it works for them. And then you have all the people that are just the surface level puppets. So certain presidents and prime ministers and royalty, and things like that. People, who have a face that we see on our televisions or in the media, are basically like the puppets to drive this dystopian agenda forward. To basically continuously harvest our energy and the energy of our children.
Very good. I like that explanation very much. Now, did you meet or did you have any interaction or experience with any members of those bloodline families yourself?
Yeah, I suppose I did a few times because obviously being in the military, and on certain occasions I've been around like the royal family, Charles, and obviously the Queen, but also prime ministers at certain occasions, but also the same occasions I've been where they've been there, but also Donald Trump's been there as well. I've been fortunate to be at an event with my grandfather, who was also a soldier. So yeah, it's when you look back on these occasions, it's quite strange how you've been in the vicinities of certain Cabal members on the planet. It's strange, and I'm sure a lot of other people can think of times that they have as well.
Have you ever found out anything about them being in such a close vicinity of some of them, something that we haven't learned from other sources, or something that you haven't learned yourself from other sources, but something that you were able to witness or realize or discover yourself about them?
Yeah, well, I mean, at the time, it wasn't really something that was completely on my mind. Like when I was in the vicinity of them, only like what I'd witnessed when my grandfather was there, and he had this real love for Donald Trump. And I know why now. But at the time, it was quite interesting how he wasn't interested in speaking to any of the royal family, and Charles, the Queen, Theresa May, who was the Prime Minister at the time. They were all there in front of him, and he just wasn't interested. He bypassed all of them to go and speak to Donald Trump. And this was at the D-Day 75 commemoration event in 2019. And that's when it kind of really opened my eyes that, like, my granddad's bypassed all of them for a reason. Like, what is it about them? And, obviously, as the years went on, you just learn more and more and more, as we awaken on our journeys. And yeah, so like looking back on it all now, what I know now, obviously it kind of brings a smile to your face. You can only laugh that you've actually been in the vicinity of these people.
Okay, and being in the army for 15 years, what did you learn about the Cabal or the controllers or the way they operate through the army experience itself?
Yeah, so I mean, I can look back on so many occasions now and go, wow, we were used for this and we were used for that. But actually, my kind of like awakening journey started probably about when 9/11 happened, because I was just joined in the army, and I knew straight away that looking at the video when it was happening live, that it didn't seem right. My grandfather, who I was living with at the time, said the same, and I then joined the army at that time. And then I was learning all that engineer training and demolitions, and they were teaching us about steel cutting charges and things like that. So I very quickly could see that it was a controlled demolition on those buildings. So like my kind of awakening journey was like quite slow and gradual from like 2001. I then went to Iraq in 2003 on the basis of there was weapons of mass destruction, which we know was a complete lie. And so I was leading up to going to Iraq, already knowing that the 9/11 Twin Towers was an inside job. And then we were told that we had to have these anthrax vaccines and to go. So it was the UK, the United States, Canada, Denmark, and Australia. Like all their troops were run through the anthrax program, and I was really sick from them, and so other people. So I started researching and questioning then all vaccines, and I could see that everything was about oil and big pharma and pharmaceuticals. So although I wasn't labeling them the cabal then, I was seeing it with my own eyes. And then obviously going to Iraq and seeing no weapons of mass destruction anywhere, or even a sniff of them, to then later on being in Afghanistan and like seeing that we don't do anything about the poppy fields that produce 80% of the world's heroin. So we could see that we were just there protecting the poppy fields as well. So I kind of witnessed false flags all the time throughout my, for a good 20 years. And then after I left the army, I worked at a place called Porton Down in the UK, which is very well known for its chemical and biological sort of testing and psychological testing there. They do trials with MK Ultra and laser technology, obviously direct energy weapons. And I was working there as a project manager, so I was seeing lots of things with my own eyes. And I'm not sure if any of your listeners are familiar with a sort of a terrorist incident where these Russians were poisoned with what was called Novichok. And they made it out to be the Russians that did it, but it was a complete setup because it happened in a town called Salisbury, which is a famous cathedral town. And the Porton Down is right next to it. It's on the outskirts of Salisbury. So the only team in the country that can deal with these nerve agents, that are exposed to the air, happened to be in this very place that it was released. And I later saw that they made it there. So I was like another false flag carried out by the UK government to really draw up anti-Russian propaganda here in the UK. So by the time the whole Ukraine-Russia war kicked off, all the Brits were already hating Russia. So it was already a pre-planned thing. So I was witnessing all this. So yeah, I guess the answer to your question is I've just seen it with all the false flags deeply with my own eyes. I've been the observer on all occasions when I've been in and witnessing these things, and that's what's, I guess, opened my eyes to the cabal, the deep state, all the different nefarious programs, the mind control, several years ago.
Okay, thanks. And your friends and your companions, your colleagues at the army, were they also on this journey of awakening and observing all these different false flags and red flags as well? Or did you feel yourself lonely in this?
Yeah, I kind of felt very alone in this. Like there was one or two people that kind of, you're like, yeah, I get it. There was many of my colleagues who were very much against me in 2020 and 2021, especially as the big pharma's new medicine came out. And I was, trying to warn people about that they, a lot of them turned on me. Obviously there's a lot of people now have come back into my life, have apologized, and have seen everything for what it is. So like they're seeing all the corruption that's been raised to the surface now, and like the people involved and, things like that, that everyone's consciousness seems to have raised significantly in the last sort of 3 to 6 months, the last month especially. So I'm getting a lot of guys now are just seeing things for what it is. A lot of people are leaving the military. A lot of the British serving military absolutely despise the government. So yeah, there's been a lot of positive turns.
Cool. And when you were still there, were you able to question any of this out loud and talk about it with your friends and colleagues while in the army?
Yeah, I did, but I was often just said like, AJ, you're wasting your time, and just fall on deaf ears. People think you're a lunatic already.
Yeah.
And so I just kept myself to myself, But you could, looking back on it, you could see from the mentality of people, and the deep programming that you get from joining the military. In the British military, and it's the same for the United States. As soon as you get through the gate, you're basically trained to hate that Russia is the enemy. The East is the enemy. The East is the enemy. And then every now and then it'll be somewhere in the Middle East, just to keep the story going. And the story of it, Islam versus Christianity and all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
So
yeah,
but some people did see through it, but I think, again, the whole COVID period was the perfect opportunity to see that the sheer level of programming within the masses.
Okay. In my last class, class 8, about the Cabal controllers, I'm talking about the level of compartmentalization and how, one level doesn't know about what's going on. Did you notice this in the army, that the people on the bottom, the soldiers, were not really released any more information?
Yeah, and again, it's part of the mind controlling, so controlling your troops is, you give them enough so they have everything they need, but you stamp authority in so people don't question anything. It wouldn't make sense for the people at the bottom to be fed too much information, because you get a lot of loose lips on social media, for example. But when you're talking about the Cabal side of things and at the top, you're talking about high ranking officers who are, very much down the Freemason route and have deep ties to NGOs and other sort of entities around the world. We're only really looking at those levels. It's the guys at the bottom have no idea. They're just foot soldiers, literally, at the end of the day.
Yeah. I'm just going through class 8, so I'm just beginning the program of the Space Academy curriculum, but I have started talking about the Cabal and the power structures. Now, why do you think it is important for the people to be aware of these hidden control structures on Earth? Why do they need to know that?
It's massively important because it goes hand in hand with actually understanding mind control, and everything's it's not just a spiritual war as big as it is. It's a psychological war, military grade psychological war on the people. So by being aware of all these different fractions of the Cabal and how they all work together, you'll understand the mind control as well. So you'll just be able to see with open eyes. And, we always say, once you see things, you can't unsee them. So, you're removing the veil all the time, the veils of illusion. So, you refer to them as the controllers. Now, the controller's job is to keep these multiple veils of illusion over us. So we only believe that this is as big as our world gets, that NASA went to the moon in the 60s and they're going to do it again. But the best technology we have is the new iPhone 17. It's all that illusion is just to keep you in this small box in your mind, so that you don't, you just become a consumer. You become materialistic. Your ego basically runs most of your day and how you look and are you good enough, and massive lack of self-love. It's all a huge a way of compacting you and suppressing all your emotions. So that's how you never break free from the matrix. And that's and then whilst you're in that, your energy is being harvested literally everywhere you turn. So by understanding all the different fractions of the Cabal and the makeup and the systems, you can totally live outside the box and don't need to really be in the matrix at all. You can literally step outside it, because you then have that awareness, that heightened consciousness awareness, which is key. And once you do, it just energetically allows you to step back from it. That's super important. I always refer to the sort of different fractures of the illusions to be like the 8 corners on a box, and they want your head in this box. So you have law, military, sport, food, media. They got one on every single corner of this box, and they all work hand in hand to keep your mind in this box. And that's why I think the term comes from, think outside the box. which makes total sense. So absolutely understanding all of those different corners and how they all work together. They all profit from each other as well. So big food and all the bad food. There's horrendous additives and chemicals in most food now in most supermarkets. It's all designed to make you sick. So you go to your doctor, so you pay for more pills. You then end up with cancer and you have to have chemo, and it's a whole vicious cycle that they're all profiting from. So if you can understand that and just go, okay, I now have the awareness, there's no need to put any fear to it whatsoever, because you're better than that. You're a powerful space cadet. Then you can see so much more. So once you have that awareness, you can go, okay, great, and I don't need to put any energy towards all that. They're just systems that are designed to keep me in that matrix. I need to look forward way beyond that into the universe, and connect my light bodies to my to my higher self. Where can we go? Let's bring in the code so I can unlock my gifts, etc., etc. So yeah, at a base level, absolutely understand the Cabal, but then know you're so much bigger.
Okay, that's awesome, because that actually relates to my next question that I was going to ask about your personal benefits from learning about all this. Like, you definitely feel that you became freer and happier, more expanded. What could you add a little bit more to that? What other benefits did you feel from waking up? Because maybe some people would say, the new ones, the awakening ones, the beginners, that maybe it's just better to live in the illusion and not to know all this because it's all so negative, So
I think I think that's the hard part is the unprogramming, the deprogramming, because you kind of got to unlearn what you've been taught, and if you've just got to just hold it in your heart and accept that we've been lied to since birth. But it's not just us; our parents have. Our grandparents, there's been clear and obvious social engineering in every generation to prep the next generation to be programmed by the next generation. So we've all gone through it, and so you're not on your own. The deprogramming can seem a little difficult. People tend to go through quite an emotional roller coaster as well. So there's a lot of crying and a lot of purging. But that's okay. That's normal. It's good. You're shedding that old stuff, but it's to allow you to receive the new. So you become more aware of the deeper aspects of yourself, your lineage, your star family, all this kind of stuff. Starts to come online. So you're relearning all these fascinating topics about you, and the actual world that you can create. So I tried to show people that positive way of thinking about it. And just know that we all came here with a mission, so if you're going through an awakening process, it's because you're awakening to your mission. Why are you here on this earth at this time? And that's the beauty of it, really. So if you're experiencing that, give yourself a higher self high five, because you're on mission. Your soul's calling you. That beating drum is calling you, and it might involve relationships breaking down. It did for me. I had a 20-year marriage and two beautiful children. I walked away from, who'd done nothing wrong, because my soul was literally pulling me to the other side of the country to reconnect with my lineage, to reconnect with who I am, to bring on the codes and the gifts and everything that I've been kind of working with the last few months. And that's the beauty of the awakening. There's so much good stuff at the other end. It's not all about just healing, because it just, that keeps you in a loop. And there's a lot of that happening in the spiritual communities and stuff online. There's a lot of clear and obvious loops being formed and narratives. So just be very mindful of that as well. So the more you awaken and the more you have heightened awareness, the more is going to come into your field to test you. So that's something to really be mindful of. And it is all just tests. You've experienced duality your whole life, and polarity. You're experiencing it now, and you'll experience it more because you need to. But it's a beautiful ride, and if you can just take a step back and just observe the movie, and that you are the hero of that movie, and always have been. We're all just not NPCs. We're all just background characters, people you've materialized into your life to help you with this understanding and help you with this growth and help you with this journey and help you climb this ladder in your deeper steps of awakening. And that's why channels like this and conversations like this are absolutely critical at this stage.
You said the word healing. Is that healing that you said?
Yes, yeah. As in you can go down this not so much rabbit hole, but we can go down this into a dark hole of feeling that you just need to heal all the time, and you're on a constant healing journey because you've got so much trauma. But people get stuck in those ways that they feel like they have to just go to sit in all the ceremonies, have all the treatments, meditate 20 times a day and cry. That's not how it is and how it shouldn't be. So that's what I was just referring to is, don't feel like you're just on a never-ending healing journey, because the stuff you do release, the old, it's just not part of your future journey. So focus on what that future journey is, which is your mission.
How would you define your mission?
How would I define it?
What's your mission, AJ's?
My mission is absolutely to help raise mass consciousness on the planet, and has been for some time, through my voice. So that's through podcasts, through guided meditations, through breath work, and live talks and things like that. So I know I have a certain vibration and calibration in my voice that I had upgraded quite some time ago to carry certain frequency to help create sort of soft pill mass population awakening. So through the podcast, through being on podcasts, all that kind of stuff, that's just a certain way. But also connecting very powerful energy lines here in the UK. And I also have a very deep Viking lineage and connection to the Magna Carta, which was written in the 1200s. So I'm very much aware and awake to all those missions, and very much on that mission now. And me and my beautiful partner Corinne, we do live events around the country where which we call the Awakening Journey, and we hold them in a ceremonial fashion, and we're activating third eyes, the hearts, the crowns, connecting people to their galactic selves and lineage as well. So very much kind of like a galactic shamanic route, if that makes sense. That's very much how my path led me, and that's increased massively in the last just a few months as well. What we're actually seeing when, say, we're serving plant medicine to people, what we're actually seeing them experience, from being received it from a shamanic way from us. So we can see that our own frequency and our own gifts are really kind of working on a daily basis now, which is beautiful.
Well, that's quite a journey from your military experience to where you are right now.
Yeah, well, that's I'm actually writing a book, and I've actually called it from soldier to shaman.
Yeah. A
galactic idiot's dream.
Your journey is very interesting. My partner Matthias, he always has had this dream of going to the army. And actually, before in the past when he was a teenager, and he wanted to enlist, it was like, that's all he knows, that's from past lives or whatever it is. But he was rejected because of some health issues. And because of that, he can't enlist. So he didn't have that experience as you have. But in a way, I keep telling him that maybe that was supposed to be, of course it was supposed to be this way. So you avoided that path of, because he's very noble and just, and he believed in that time that that's what the army is about, bringing that justice. But it's better that he avoided that path, because probably he could have ended up in something darker than.
Yeah. Well, the beauty of it is that I know from my own sort of past life regressional work, that I've been military in every life, or some form of soldier.
Yeah, that's what he says. Yeah.
Yeah, so he was likely the same. That's why I felt a deep connection and pull to it. And what I have learned is that in every lifetime, I was tricked into the military to to harvest my energy. So obviously dying every single time by the sounds of it. I think I just got really rubbish at dying by the sounds of it. But in this life, I very much saw through the illusion and broke free from that. And that's why I've made, I guess, such a big shift energetically, is because I've broken through that veil, and got out of the army when I did.
And now just a few more questions and we will let the viewers go. This is not going to be a very long show. You are dedicated to raising the consciousness and transforming people's realities and all that. How do you think raising of our collective consciousness on the planet Earth influence the Cabal itself? Is that helping combat and remove and somehow, counteract what the Cabal is doing?
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously, I'm sure the viewers and listeners will understand at this point that we create our reality. We create our reality through the heart, and hearts are opened worldwide. People's are having big, deep throat chakra clearances. So they're speaking their truth, but also receiving truth. You've probably noticed just how many people can receive a lot more information now than they did even a year ago, 6 months ago. So people are organically from the Earth shift are becoming the powerful light beings that we're supposed to be, and they're anchoring in this light. So ley lines, especially here in the UK, where it's probably one of the most powerful land in the world, is activating everywhere. So it's activating clearances through people. So people are then becoming together again. They're uniting. We're seeing mass protests against the government. There was 1.5 million people speaking their truth, literally as a planetary throat chakra clearance happened. So that's just showing you that the people are rising together, and that collective consciousness, which is no longer in fear, which is what the Cabal thrive off, is putting the collective in fear. COVID's a prime example of that. The collective consciousness are collectively co-creating the destruction and the collapse of all of these systems as the planet's purging at the same time. So it's all working beautifully hand in hand, and people's gifts are coming online. People's deeper knowings are coming online. Their intuition's going through the roof. They're having deep, vivid dreams. Lots of quote unquote ascension symptoms people are experiencing right now. So that in itself is just proof that how rapidly people are coming online, awakening, and that's what's collapsing the systems. And that's what we're all really collectively here to do, whilst having a human experience in this really cool meat suit.
So from what you are saying, we are all individually and collectively contributing to the collapse of the system. And now if someone is waking up, just beginning on this path, and probably even alone somewhere, what would be something else they could do to contribute to flashing out of the system, apart from just realizing that this is happening? Is there something more they can do? Because people are always asking, what can I do? Just to know about this is enough? Or how would you advise them to proceed?
Yeah, well, having the awareness is the key to all the foundation of everything. It is literally your foundational blocks of this new pyramid of knowledge that you're relearning, right? So you need to have that strong foundation, which is the awareness of it all. So that is enough. If you then want to do things about it, well, that's where you start taking your power back individually. So is that refusing to pay utility bills? Is that, because you understand that it's all corrupt? It could be you take your cash out of the bank. It could be a whole heap of things that you do to take your power back. You stop going to the doctors and getting pills. That's taking your power back. So taking your power back as much as you possibly can, and having the awareness around that too. But the key thing is to find your tribe. You are not alone. There's literally people everywhere around you who are going through this very similar process right now. And on online communities, you have a great online community. We've got a phenomenal online community that we've created over the last 2 to 3 years. So there's your tribe out there, so finding like-minded people where you can speak your truth to. That's why we hold weekly calls for the community, so that people can just speak their truth freely and laugh and joke about most of it, about how crazy this movie is. But it's all about doing that, like, matching the energies, being around those energies, not feeling like you're just on your own. Because you can get caught up in like self-hypnosis, where you just end up reading endless links and endless websites and endless potential truths. And there's a lot of disinformation out there, and you can just get caught in this fractured bubble of information. So, but getting yourself around people who you resonate with is one of the key things. And it's just an understanding that we're going to a beautiful place. Like, we have to see all the corruption, the darkness. We always say dark to light all the time. We've got to see the darkness, including our own shadow. Yeah. So that your inner work is one of the most critical things that you can do, because it's actually you doing the inner work which makes your light shine brighter, which is actually what awakens people around you. Because you're coming from a place of wisdom, you're coming from a much higher frequency, which will either repel them, so they're not supposed to be in your life, or you'll gravitate those beings towards you. So just really focus on that inner work, because all the truths that you need to know are found when you do the inner work. Because you don't need to know every single conspiracy. You don't need to know the depths of child trafficking. You don't need to know half of this actual information. A lot of it is just fluttering, because it's part of you being able to take in more data as part of your awakening. But you can just process it and just discard it just as quick as it comes in. So don't feel like you need to scramble your mind with learning absolutely everything. Just literally get into the habit of sitting with your own thoughts, your own breath, and actually feel into what resonates. Because part of the big process of being human here in this lifetime is feeling everything within the body, because that's what the whole point of this 3D vessel is. Hope that makes sense.
Yes, of course. That's beautifully said. Thank you so much. Actually, that covers my last question that I had, because my last question was about what advice would you have for people who are getting out of the matrix. But I think you covered it, unless you want to add anything else.
Yeah, I mean, don't when you talk about the matrix, like when you see the matrix, don't get like angry or react to it, because it's just there as an illusion that's being propped up by highly programmed beings that are designed to get up in the morning, go to work, do the same thing every single day. If it's like here in the UK, there's a lot of people getting very fat, but because of all the stuff in the food, there's like you struggle to buy fresh food anywhere now. And again, it's all happened on people's noses. But when you step out, when you can see the matrix, what it is, when you can see the ugliness of what they've tried to create and keep people in, you have that awareness. So you've already taken a big step out of that matrix. Then it's a case of like, well, what else is on the organic grid? Well, all the ancient histories, all your galactic histories, all your lineage, all the fun stuff, all the abilities that you have, and the ability to create new Earth. That is the fun stuff. So don't focus on the negative. Just focus on like your soul mission. Like,
amazing.
And the more you do that, the closer and closer you'll know what it is. And if from experience, if you've got that beating drum in your chest now, start listening to it, because it's just going to get louder and louder until you do. The universe will keep slapping you until you listen to that beating drum, whatever that may be for.
Thank you very much. AJ, this was a pleasure to have you. We could talk more, but this is a short show. This was the first one as a surprise. So thank you for your great contributions. It covers a lot of points that we covered with the viewers in the first 8 classes. So I'm glad we went through. And also you mentioned many points that will be discussed in the future as well. So thank you again very much for taking your time and being here with our Space Academy cadets today.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Well, thank you everybody for joining us today. And I hope you liked our first guest, AJ Roberts. I hope you're going to look forward to the next ones. I don't know when I'm going to have new guests on and who it is going to be. It's always going to be a surprise even for myself. A lot of topics that were mentioned here in this video, we're going to discuss more in the future classes, so stay tuned. For example, we will talk about the mission, your life mission and why you are here on Earth and all that and many other subjects that were mentioned. So stay tuned and I'm going to see you in the next episode, which is class 9, where we will talk about the absolute managers of the control system on Earth, and that is Galactic Federation. I'll see you soon.